first and foremost, Trump and J.D. Vance is pulling up to the church. Got to stop at the church and get blessed before you take office. Check it out.
In Washington, and these are live pictures of President-elect Trump, Melania Trump, and the future first family as they make their short trip down from Blair House, where they spent the night right across the street from the White House, per tradition, to St. John's Church, also in the neighborhood there near the White House, where they will attend a church service as tradition has dictated for many, many years now, as we watch these live events unfold on a historic day, January 20th. Here in Washington, D.C.
And just a few moments ago, we saw the next vice president of these United States, J.D. Vance, and his wife, Usha, walking into St. John's as well. This is going to become quite the familiar scene here in our nation's capital. The caravan of SUVs making their way through these streets. However, it is a federal holiday, so not as much traffic here in Washington as usual.
Martin Luther King Day, this is, I think, the third time in history that Martin Luther King Day has coincided with an inauguration. Happened first with Bill Clinton and happened again the second term of President Obama. And now, as we await our first sighting, perhaps this morning, of President-elect Trump, the once and future president, as he's about to get started with this day's events. So much tradition and some events, some changes that are dictated by the weather and some dictated by Mr. Trump's personal style. And here he is, the president-elect, departing the motorcade as he makes his way into the church known as the Church of the Presidents.
This is the first time that we have seen President-elect Trump this morning. He will go.
You're right, Tracy. I got you. Thank you for reminding me. I got you right after this segment. Let's continue.
Go inside, worship there at St. John's. And there she is, the First Lady of.
Hey, listen. Style and grace. Is she not stunting on him? Making these girls look like a box of powdered donuts? Huh? She looking fresh. She came out the motorcade looking fresh as hell, didn't she? Dawg, she making Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris and Jill Biden look like a box of powdered donuts. Hey, ain't nothing saying masculinity than having a dope woman by your side. I'm going to say that. For all of y'all that got to meet Rita yesterday, now you see. Some people have never seen Rita in real life. Some people have never even seen Rita online. And they met her yesterday, and they're like, oh, my God. Hey, shout out to homie that was trying to talk to my chick behind my back, too. He didn't know who you was? Is that what it was? He was just being nice? He was just being nice, huh? Hey, man, listen. Let me establish a cultural norm. Don't try to buy my girl a drink. We don't do that. We don't do that here. You know she gonna tell me as soon as she find out, as soon as Anton, let me tell you what happened. I don't like this. I don't like this. Come on, man. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. You knew who she was. You knew she was with me. You knew she was with me. She was crazy. What body looked like a Coke bottle, wasn't it? Coke bottle? Coke bottle Rita was in the building. It was crazy. Crazy.
The next First Lady of the United States, Melania Trump, there by his side as they make their way into that house. Again, that's just right across the street from the White House, being greeted there, presumably by one of the ministers there at St. John's.
Hey, Melania,
they do call it the Church of the President. Every single president, I think going back probably 70, 80 years, has attended services at least once inside this church, if not their inaugurals. Most do this inaugural service, but not all. And in fact, there's a row 54, that is the president's pew. And it's always reserved in case the president wants to come over and attend church services.
Dope. And then J.D. Vance also pulled up and met Kamala Harris at the door. Doug and Kamala at the door. Check it out.
So President Trump will be holding at Blair House for about 15 minutes, we're told, maybe about 13 minutes from here. We continue to see some family members who are or guests of the president and first lady from the St. John's service. In the meantime, this morning, Joe Biden made some news, Carl. He did some preemptive pardons today as we look at the Vice President Kamala Harris and her husband, the second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. Maybe we're going to see. Let's say that we'll see that's not stopping. Okay. What about these preemptive pardons on his way out?
Well, first, it's distressing that he felt he needed to do that, and I thought Adam Kitzinger who was the recipient of one of those pardons and objected to it, said, "I didn't do anything wrong. I don't need to be pardoned." But it says something about the state of where we are as a country, the division and the polarization.
And here we have, let me just jump in here. There is Vice President-elect J.D. Vance and his lovely wife, Usha. They have 3 children, and this is the moment where they are going to meet the Kamala Harris and Doug Emhoff, and then they'll go inside Bill for tea. There she is in a beautiful pink coat.
Let me say this: both Trump and J.D. Vance's wives is out here stunting. You see how the glow hits a little bit differently for conservative women or the wives of conservative leaders? The glow just hit different. And I'm going to be honest with you. They say that Kamala Harris is supposed to be beautiful and all of that. And I think that Kamala Harris, in her older age, it's a little bit different. You can see the age. But for whatever reason, conservative wives and conservative women age differently. I don't know who it is. I don't know what it is. Melania Trump came out looking like a supermodel. J.D. Vance's wife came out looking like a supermodel. Just look like dignitaries' wives. You know what I'm saying? They just look like they supposed to be there. They look like, oh man, what is going on? They look like presidential. Could y'all imagine for 1 second that we had the first gentleman in office? If that didn't run right up Portland's gender identity politics thing, I don't know what would. Look how presidential she looks. Doug and Kamala look like they're going to a funeral. They do, don't they look like they're going to a funeral? They look like they're going to a funeral. Dougie and Kamala look like they're going to a funeral. And the other 2 look like they're going to a wedding. One is celebrating life and one look like they celebrating death. One look like they celebrating life, the other one look like they celebrating death. The middle couple don't even look like they belong together. They look like an odd couple. They don't even match. They don't match at all, do they? They look like she married him for clout and money. They look like they married for clout and money. The other 2 are esteemed. Intelligent, smart, intellectual, graduated, top of their class. They look like they're smart enough to run a country. The middle 2, could you imagine if the middle 2 had became president? Could you imagine if the middle 2 had became president and first gentleman? First man husband of the president. Jesus Christ, that sounds crazy.
I'm very British that they go for tea,
You're not going to make
coffee.
me the first man husband. Nope, I'm not going for it.
Dana and Carl, just learning the protocol takes a minute. That was pretty.
And that was very great.
Did you see the picture? What am I grasping for? So you will be first gentleman? You will be decorating the garden inside of the White House? Is that what you're telling me, big dog? What, you know that first gentleman, think about it. What was Michelle Obama's landmark thing that she did in 8 years that she was in the White House? They say that she gave kids better school, healthier school lunches. All of the other first ladies, they sit there, they decorate the garden, they add different furniture. Could you imagine being that dude? Hey man, how you gonna decorate the White House? Seriously, that is the landmark thing for they catch their husbands getting head in the White House, stuff like that. Shout out to Bill Clinton. They do new flowers in the garden, they select new furniture, they figure out how they can connect with the staff inside of the White House. That's what they do. Why would you want to even represent that? Why would you want to be the first? It ain't always good to be a first. Hey dog, you know you the first man wife, right? The first gentleman of the White House. Why would I want to be the first gentleman? So what you gonna work on? School lunches like Michelle Obama? The Winter Garden? Oh, great. That's all they needed.
It's very British that they go for tea, not coffee.
You know, Dana and Carl, just learning the protocol takes a minute. That was pretty.
And that was very gracious.
It sure
gracious
was.
And lovely, and we all do it for each other.
Yeah, it was kind of a cute moment, actually. So they'll go in, they'll sit down, they'll start their conversation. And, you know, Carl, I asked Senator Thune this. He let off our coverage about half an hour ago. And how much consideration have you given to the political accomplishment that Trump has done here? Through the court cases and the assassination attempts on January 6th, 4 years ago, and the fact that we have not seen his kind to win a non-consecutive term since the 1890s. You're a historian. Frame it.
Well, we've never seen anything like this. This is nothing like Cleveland's return in 1892. The 1888 election had been very close. The 1892 election was similarly close. But in the intervening 4 years, Cleveland had sort of retired to New York and had kept his political life alive. But, you know, he suffered nothing like Donald Trump has suffered in the last 4 years and persevered. I mean, there's nothing, 100 years from now, people will be writing about the extraordinary political comeback, the most extraordinary in America's history of Donald Trump with the number of lawsuits and declared dead and January 6th and so forth and so on. And he comes back to beat not the man that he started out running against in 2023, but the vice president after the president is withdrawn from the ticket and declines to run in July of 2024.
Yeah, shout out to Trump, man. We happy. We finally here, y'all. We get to have a regular country again instead of all of this chaos and calamity and issues and problems that's been happening over the last 4 years. The last 4 years, y'all got to admit, it doesn't matter whether you're watching this as a hateful liberal or a strong conservative. The last 4 years has been absolute hell for most of us. Not all of us, but for most of us. The last 4 years has been absolute hell for the majority of people that are out here in these streets. You got to admit it. You got to at least give us that. It has been crazy. People been getting evicted. You can't buy a house because interest rates is crazy. And then we almost got a first husband inside of the White House. That would have been that would have just been the end of America. I believe that God would have sent fire and brimstone straight down from heaven had we had let that happen. We saved the world. We saved the world from all of y'all that's out there running around with diseases, 2-for-1 herpes and chlamydia. For all of y'all that wanted to continue to eliminate babies, this is what I believe in my heart. I believed that was God giving us a final opportunity and saying, okay, listen, I'll let y'all run around in the asylum and continue to be stupid. You got one more shot. You got one more shot to fight for masculinity, to fight for principles that we stand for, to get things in order, and to take care of business, to get this ceasefire done. to get these wars, get out of these wars, and start to fix the things that we said that y'all need to fix. You got one more shot, America. What you gonna do with it? And so some of us stood up and said, all right, I'm gonna drop my balls and go ahead and do what we supposed to do. Honestly, I genuinely believe that we saved the world. In my heart, it was that meaningful. That meaningful. One of the biggest things that I said when I first had my daughter, and the thing that because we was okay with not having no kids at all, but the one thing, and the reason that was is because it wasn't that I didn't like kids. I just don't like your kids. It wasn't that I didn't like kids. It's more or less about the fact that I didn't want to bring kids into this evil world. The world, it seems like, was becoming more demonic and more evil by the day. And so we was like, listen, if we're going to have it, we're going to have one, and we're going to throw everything we can into her and just go from there. But boy, oh boy, save the world from you. I got an email today from a woman that said, Anton, you should not say anything about single mothers. God could make you one too. I kid you not. You think I'm lying? Let me pull it up. I'm going to pull it up for you. Somebody sent me a message this morning because they was mad. They said, Anton, you doing reviews on, leave single mothers out of this. Said, leave single mothers out of it. I kid you not. Where is it at? I knew I think I put it in the unread folder. And I was thinking to myself, I started to write back. I said, no, I'm going to wait for a second. I started to write back. I said, well, what about having children out of wedlock? So God ain't mad at that part? So God is selective in his outrage. He's mad at me for pointing out the bad thing that you did, not you doing the bad thing and you being held accountable for it. I was confused, honestly. When did God get mad at me for pointing out something that you did that you wasn't supposed to do? How'd that work? Tierra sent me a message. Tierra sent it to me, a long one. Instead of holding single mothers accountable and posting them on your platform, pray for them. It's hard enough for many single mothers as it is. And it's not right. So she's not saying it's not right to have children out of wedlock. She's saying it's not right for me to point out that they had children out of wedlock. Got it. Some people can't take that. Many single moms made those decisions based off of childhood trauma. You don't know their story. Well, they're sharing it with us on Instagram and TikTok. I can only go by the story that they're telling me, ma'am. You could find yourself in their shoes one day. That's what I said. How am I going to become a single mama? And my daughter is about to turn 17 years old. And it's how can I find myself in their shoes? Y'all just be saying stuff. But let me finish it. You could find yourself in their shoes one day. I'll skip past all of the mumbo jumbo and I'll get to the good stuff. It's not easy, Anton. Now was the time not to mock anyone. God could turn those tables at any moment. Just thought I should say this. Let me tell you something, man. First of all, if karma was real, all of y'all would be in hell immediately. If karma was real, all of y'all would be in hell immediately. We done praying for you. Now is the time for action. Now is the time for action. We're not sending you no cash apps. We're not sending you no Venmos, no PayPals, no nothing. Stop having children out of wedlock. So don't forget the part where God told you to close your legs until you get married. Don't forget that part. I don't think that God is mad at me for using you as an example of what not to do so that I could save other souls. Think about what you're saying before y'all type to me. I be reading the emails. I absolutely be reading the emails. And no, I'm not going to become a single mother. You can forget it. Let me read some of these super chats. God could turn the tables on you. No, he not. No, he not. God ain't even thinking about you. Listen, think about this for a second. It's people pillaging the country, doing some of the worst things ever, and God will be mad at me for pointing out your behavior that you decided to put on the internet. But he's not going to be mad at you for doing exactly what he told you not to do as far as opening up your legs to drug dealers, to 3 different ones, and becoming a single baby mama 3 times. He going to be mad at me for pouring in the community. This is why you don't need women leaders. Women do not need leadership positions. Stay in your lane and ask your husband, oh, I'm sorry, you ain't married. Next time, ask the man you're supposed to be married to if you should send this email to me. And then that's why people be like, man, my mama be mad at you, Anton. Don't be going off online. I just got to say what's real.